I assess learners' progress in a variety of ways. Part of what I do is establish learning teams so that the students have to complete a task and then contribute to a discussion board with their learning team. And then those learning teams will contribute to other discussion boards. And it's through that that I can determine what their understanding is. Part of what I do is when I evaluate their discussion board contributions is to use a rubric that's 50% reflecting their understanding and 50% based on their performance. The performance really comes in when we do performance tasks. And every module that I have includes a performance task, which includes videotaping so that I can actually watch them. And then they also do peer and self-assessment using a rubric that I created for peer and self-assessment.
We develop our objectives, figure out the best and most appropriate assessment for those objectives, and following that, we figure out the instructional strategies that will help us get students towards those outcomes that we're desiring. Some of the strategies that I like to use or that I teach my students to use are rubrics, because it helps us be less subjective about our assessment and more intentional about what we're looking for. It helps the learner know what the expectations are up front. Typically, best practices, we would post those for our students in advance and they would know what those expectations are. Some of the other things that I feel about assessment is they should be rigorous. So I'm a believer that our assessments should differentiate between students who have learned the material and students who perhaps just went through the motions. And so rigorous assessments will help us know who really has learned the content or the process that we're teaching. The other thing that I think is really important with assessment, especially from somebody who trains teachers, is it needs to be authentic. So it needs to be something that students will learn in the real setting of that work. So it's a practice opportunity to do whatever is being taught in that classroom, and those assessments would then help us be able to make better judgment if students are truly prepared to go and do what we've taught them to do.
One of the things that I did when I assessed the learners' progress in the course was to give them several projects. I taught a music history popular music class. So in order to get them just doing things other than reading the book and doing the listening examples, I thought one of the things that would be interesting for them was to erase their iPod of all of their favorite music. This was something that was really challenging for them, many of them, and a couple of them said that they didn't do it. They were too stressed out about losing all of their music, which they weren't really going to lose anyway. But what I think in the long run, what they gained from that was the sense that there was a lot more out there than just what they were listening to. I also had them do a project where it was like they were in a recording studio. So they had an Audacity, they had to download Audacity, which is a music editing app. And they had to come up with some of their favorite songs. And in addition to stating why they like these favorite songs, they had to do a voiceover about what was special for them. So it really got them thinking out of the box in both of these projects, and I think it was very successful.
I teach from a constructivist perspective, and I have been using Wiggins and McTighe for years in terms of understanding by design. So my expected outcomes are where I begin, and those guide the instruction through every module. Like identify essential questions. Everything that I do cycles back to seeing to what extent they're understanding the answers to the essential questions, which are big questions.
Learning outcomes are very important for us because in a way we feel that we're breaking new ground. There are not many design courses online because interaction is critical in those courses. So we are somehow opening that avenue, experimenting on a constant basis. So as we go through the assignments, we exercise a lot of introspection. We verbalize what are we learning, almost in real time. And that feeds into our ability to adapt the course. My course has 3 assignments. In each one of them, we address a different project. The first project is to redesign a supermarket. And by that, we don't only mean the infrastructure, but probably the business model. We can design anything. The second one is international education. How do we redesign international education? Now, the third one is the really important one in terms of feedback on learning outcomes, because it is to redesign the course itself. So the students are confronted with the need of being truly introspective and find out what were the pieces of the course that worked for them as learners, take full awareness of their learning, and in some cases produce new ideas that will increase the effectiveness of the course.